Welcome back to Demon Folklorist. I am, yes, that demon folklorist. So, in honor of my birthday, which is the day that this episode comes out, March 11th, I'm going to watch terrible mummy movies so you don't have to, and provide commentary from my beautiful mind. Sorry for anybody who, thought this was about creepy mummy experiences that people have had around actual mummies. As far as I know, that's not a thing. But you never know. I have heard of people getting weird things caught on camera around deity statues, ancient Egyptian ones, as if they were priests caught in some sort of time loop. So who knows? There are a million random mummy movies on Tubi, so if you want a part 2, you're gonna have to comment and let me know, and I'll watch them just for you. Monthly reminder, though, to ask questions. Comment on Spreaker. That's generally where I see them. Ask me questions. Or you can always contact me under Demon Folklorist. You can message me on Facebook. You can message me on Twitter, Instagram, and ask me a question, and I'll try to answer it. Sometimes those questions even become episodes, so ask them. Now, to preface, The Mummy from 1999 is one of my all-time favorite movies. As far as I'm concerned, it's completely perfect. No notes. But not every movie is The Mummy. And besides, I'll be talking about The Mummy in May when it has its 25th anniversary for my Morbidly Beautiful Novelty Shop column. So check that out when it comes out. We are starting with my favorite of these entries because it is bonkers. So this is called Tale of the Mummy. It's from 1998, so right around the same time as The Mummy. If you found yourself reaching for this movie after you watched the masterpiece that is The Mummy, you were not alone, because I also did this, and this one scared the hell out of me as a kid, and I'm trying to figure out why. To be fair, I was 6. So it centers around this seriously evil dude, Talos, and this team of archaeologists is breaking into his weird tomb, which is a circular room, and it's got all of his victims on pikes and stuff, and he's suspended from the ceiling in this I don't know, oval thing. It's weird. Anyway, so Gerard Butler is in this, and that was one of the few things I actually did remember from the film. I don't know why. And he just fucking dies 5 minutes in, maybe not even. He goes in, he falls on a pike, and then his fiance just doesn't react. Just nothing. And he found a necklace on one of the victims, and he gives it to her and throws it to her that's not grave robbing. And is just sorry, I never got you a wedding ring or whatever. And then he fucking dies. And it's wait, what? Anyway, yeah. It gets weirder from there. Somebody is sending weird notes and warnings, and a lady gets swallowed up by early CGI mummy wrappings. It's so bad, dude. Oh, but it's funny because that's all that was left, these wrappings in his actual sarcophagus. So those have become reanimated somehow, and they're killing people. Anyway, apparently just in the mummy movie genre, I mean, I'm learning all sorts of things just by watching these. Organs have to be stolen from people to put them back together. One of the characters from that expedition is psychic, and he's turned seemingly mad by future events, a celestial event, and coming Armageddon, where Talos is gonna take over the world, as they do. It's never not, oh, hey, I'm here now. It's always take over the world, bring doom and destruction to all of humanity. And it's okay, dude, you're reaching a little high. The ominous wrappings strike again, and this time it's at a gay bar. And then this man, and I kid you not, is eaten by a toilet. Yeah. And there are just so many questions, that character, why is there dirt on this man's floor, or is it sand? I don't know, man. He was the character who went insane. So the woman character, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really follow names too much when it comes to bad movies, because it's why should I care about you? You're not doing so well in the acting department. But anyway, this lady, she's the main character, and she's like way over Gerard Butler's character and is flirting with the detective. And Shelley Duvall is in this as Bradley's psychic friend. It's crazy. And she admits that she wasn't thinking much about Gerard Butler because bringing out the sarcophagus from the tomb made madness descend, and it affected everybody differently. The wrappings end up killing a dog, which is gross. Stop killing dogs and animals in movies, for fuck's sake. I mean, come on. There's this image of a huge menacing mummy that's interesting, but most of the time this dude is just wrappings. Like, it's insane. Anyway, we finally get Talos's backstory, which nobody bothered to tell us until this point, which is that he was a magician from Greece. He comes to Egypt. He impresses the court. He even marries the king's daughter. But Talos's enemies keep dying horribly, so King Amenhotep tries to kill him. But he doesn't succeed because he told the daughter, Nefriana, who is, married to Talos. She told him about it, and they planned for his resurrection via his closest followers, who are now the four, plus a dog for some reason, who ate his organs. So he's taking from these reincarnated followers. It got really convoluted after that. Like, it just didn't really make a ton of sense to me. There's this melodramatic love story between the main chick and the detective that's born out of a small flirtation. And this movie is wild. Shelley Duvall does a seance once Bradley dies. He's the guy who went insane. And his levitating body to find Sam, that's what the main chick's name is, who has been taken by Talos, right? And then, I can't think of another way to say this, a sarcophagus craps out a body that looks like something from Cronenberg's Nightmares. Like, this movie's insane. And I'm also having, like, slight flashbacks. I never got this far. Like, I think I tried to watch this movie later in my life, and it was not good. So I just sort of stopped, right? And I never really got this far until this episode was born out of me trying to sit and watch this, and I just couldn't stop myself from doing commentary. But I did have odd flashbacks about her running around in, like a white tank top that gets dirty because she's down in this, like, underground place. And then, like a gray sweatshirt. And yeah, I don't know why those things are what I remember. Probably just the terror of 6-year-old me. And now I'm not, like, afraid of anything. So it's pretty funny. Anyway, there is this vaguely unsettling humanoid meets tiki mask skin man with kangaroo feet. That comes out of that sarcophagus. He was crapped out. And it's like he's an alien monster that mated with the creature of the Black Lagoon. So have fun explaining that to anyone else. I did my best. Also, he spits black gunk at Shelley Duvall. Rude. And then she dies because he possesses the professor's mind. And then he dies a second later because Talos then possession hops to the doctor. Who even knows what's happening at this point? But Talos can clearly take over people's thoughts and make them kill each other. And Sam, who's the main chick, she's the princess that's being sacrificed on, like, a giant cross-looking thing. But get this, she's not the princess whose heart he needs. The detective, the male detective, is the reincarnated princess. And the reason that this is so funny to me, it's like, I can completely believe that could happen. I believe in, like, the whole two-spirit thing. Like, if you're from a different lifetime and maybe you're in a different gendered body, that can happen. But the reason that this was funny is because there is no warning. There is no idea that could even possibly lead you there. It was just, like, this, like, random thing that they just, like, threw at you, and you were like, wait, what? The detective who's investigating the murder, or some murder. I don't even know why he was there. I forgot what his role was. But the detective who's trying to find Sam, he's the princess. And it's like, the what? Like, why? Anyway. You can't make this shit up. It was such a twist. There was just nothing indicating that it was going there. And they did. And it was funny. But yeah, it was very unintentionally funny. I don't think they wanted it to be funny, but it was. This whole movie was funny. Talos then becomes a naked man whose butt I saw today, and I didn't need that. And it gets pinned on the doctor. Talos possesses his beloved detective and walks away into London proper, and he growls at the screen in the end that made me go, what? What was that? Like, why, dude? Like, so weird. This movie is so batshit, so insanely bad that it's almost good because it's deeply entertaining. I would give it 2.75 pyramids out of 5 pyramids. The soundtrack, though, was excellent. I liked the soundtrack better than the entire movie. So, kudos to them. The next one was a little bit of a slog. So it's Legend of the Mummy, and this is also from 1998. I mean, clearly there was something going on where ancient Egypt was being sort of reborn in movies as like something of interest. Because you got to remember, this is a year before The Mummy comes out. And I'm sure it was just part of like a new wave of Egyptology interest. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I didn't look it up for this, so sorry. Anyway, Legend of the Mummy, 1998. So there are multiple grave robberies, one with a jewel from the sarcophagus, and a guy is burned by the sun when he tries to escape. It's not very clear, and I'm just going to warn you now, not very much from this whole plot is very clear. Even though it's based on a Bram Stoker book, like, I just don't understand a lot of this. Anyway, first, this man, I mean, we see him sort of like studying, I think, the jewel or whatever, or the stuff from this excavation. He tells his cat, not now, and then reads out loud an inscription that awakens the mummy. Idiot. There's very little explanation in these movies, but this man reads it, he turns to a statue, says, I won't do it, as if he's talking to the statue, and then a mysterious wind blows through and he dies or is assaulted off camera. I don't even know. Anyway, this man is threatening someone breaking in, and it's a random other man who just comes out of the woodwork, and he threatens him with like a wine bottle because someone's trying to break into his apartment. He has a relationship with someone named Margaret, but it clearly isn't truly over because she calls when her father is mysteriously dying. He's the dude who read the inscription out loud like an idiot. And he has what look like self-inflicted arm cuts, and he's in a very deep coma. Margaret is breathy and not a very good actress, and I genuinely think she was hired just to kind of look pretty. I hate it when they do that. Because it's like, I don't feel anything for your character. I don't really care what's going on with you. My main issue with this movie is that it's harder to digest because of the bad acting, and it takes itself so much more seriously. Also, there's all this backstory randomly inserted here and there. My mind is really bored when I watch this movie, and all the stories are told in such a melodramatic fashion that you're like, dude, you need to calm down. And so a maid has hallucinations about bleeding. It's like a play-by-play of like weird shit that happens with no explanation. And we're only 15 minutes in. And now we're in the basement where the mummy is, and a maid is reaching for the mummy's junk accidentally. I mean, what a time to be alive. 1998, am I right? Mummy movies apparently also had that gratuitous nudity. I didn't really know that that was a part of the genre. And past lives are a major part of like what seems like every mummy movie. And that the mummy always has these really mysterious powers once he's been awoken. There's something about a queen and wanting to be alive again. This movie is just very hard to watch also because the plot's really convoluted. They resurrected her some more. There's something about her having 7 fingers, and she kills one of them for getting too greedy for her power, transfers her soul into Margaret or whatever, complete with translights and ominous wind blowing and weird moaning while she meets her younger self. I don't know. Her dad is fine. We realize at the last second that it isn't her. We also have a softcore porn scene, and I just feel this entire movie was like an idea for a softcore porno that just went too far. Bro realizes that this isn't actually Margaret because the scratch that she leaves on him is 7-fingered, and then it just ends. Well, this dude's eyes get bigger and bigger with understanding. It's like, dude. Also, another thing I noticed about the genre is that the mummy gets loose and then wins. It's just out in the world. It's like, it's not even that like an apocalypse comes, it's that a mummy's just walking around possessing someone's body and everything's fine. They blend right in. That's what I always think would happen anyway if a mummy took over. Like, why take over the world when you can just live and do your own thing and not really, be noticed by the world? But okay. This was a melodramatically baffling 1.5 pyramids out of 5 pyramids. I did not like this one. Okay, so the next one is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. This is from 1964. I wanted to do a classic one, and by classic, I mean whitewashed, brown face, overacted, overreaching accents, and also very melodramatic. So far, we have brown face on white actors and blatant Islamophobia, complete with like perceived savagery. Like, there are parts of this movie that are just not good. A lot more Islamophobia by accusing the diggers they employed of stealing, running crews off by inciting rebellion, probably because they aren't paid enough. Bro warns them about the mummy tomb curse since someone is already dead. But nobody listens, because why would they listen? I call it white disbelief. Like, white secular society just can't imagine that the things that are talked about in folklore could ever be real. So they just dismiss it and then they pay for it in these movies. Clearly it's based on Tutankhamun, but they renamed him because it was widely believed that the deaths surrounding the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb had a curse put on the tomb. And like, maybe, but more often the story's like a lot better than the truth that life can be random and frightening. Not everything is connected to one event, right? Like the opening of a tomb. Sometimes people just die and it's not awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what this is clearly based on. And then we see the naming of Turkish delight for some reason, which I haven't tried, but I have heard that it's not worth selling your siblings to the White Witch. Lion Witch in the Wardrobe reference, if you don't know. Prolonged shots of a scantily clad belly dancer with a man who tips her like a stripper. We've got all sorts of things in this movie. Everyone's looking dramatically in the distance, but at the sarcophagus. It's actually a really weird moment. Like, they're all like, who could possibly have done this? And they all look over. And it's like they're looking in the distance, but no, they're actually looking at this mummy, and it's like, dude, why? So melodramatic. There's a boat scene, which also seems to be a staple of mummy movies. Not everyone, but I could see that maybe they took the idea of a boat scene from like maybe this movie. Who knows? But I do really feel, though, after watching these kind of movies, that Stephen Sommers paid homage to these type of movies without it getting stupid or insane. Because these movies do totally get stupid and or insane. The lady, Annette, she feels really weird around the mummy, so we've probably got like a past life connection or something going on. That's just a guess. At this point in the story, I had no idea where it was going. But she has the most incomprehensible French accent. Like, it's just so overdone that it doesn't even sound French. So it took me a while to figure out what country she hailed from. Someone got hit on the head and our girl's nearly stabbed by another dude, but he kicks his ass with very big wide swings and then he punches him over the side of the boat. And no, I am not making that up. And the guy, like, it turns out before it was just whopped on the head, and then the guy who saved her is getting weird on this one dude's fiance, Annette, being like, hey, here's a priceless ring from a Russian empress. You're pretty. You should have it. And then he kisses her hand with it on. Yeah, that's not weird at all. In front of her fiance, too. All this is happening in front of him. He's just like, dude, what are you doing? And then she invites this guy to the unboxing of the treasures, and the look on her husband's face, or I'm sorry, not husband, fiance's face, was like, I would rather die. This movie was so unintentionally funny for this. We get into like the backstory. There's always one. Sometimes it's in the beginning of the movie. Sometimes like it's in the middle for some reason. But there were these two ancient Egyptian brothers. One of them was named Ra the Elder, and then they just named the other one B. And I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you name it B? Like, I think it only works in like English, this joke, because it's like A and B, and then they didn't bother to change B's name, but whatever. I thought it was funny. The weirdo, like this guy who's like after Annette, seems a bit dastardly, and he's way too interested in this medallion of everlasting life, or whatever it did, that Annette happens to have because her father gave it to her. Again, yeah, that's not grave robbing, not turning in like a priceless treasure, but whatever. In this movie, really, it comes down to a dick measuring contest over who's better for Annette and smarter about Egyptology. An assailant comes for the medallion, which could only be this other guy because he's the only one besides her fiance and her who knows that it's like a thing that's even there. Someone steals the mummy or awakens it, and it's awake, and he whops one dude on the head with a cat figurine. He's probably dead. I don't know. And Annette's running away with this new dude, but the mummy finds her, and it's a very prolonged reaching for her while she quails, and then she passes out. The mummy is actually a really menacing character, but what sucks is that he's rarely in the movie. Like, he's there for 5 minutes total, and you're like, son of a bitch. Like, let's get some mummy time. And it's just mostly these people just sort of staring off into the distance and being like, who could have done this? And a mummy's walking around like, whatever, dude. All right. So we find out that B is actually alive because he was cursed to everlasting life, and the only way for him to die is to kill the last of the desecrators. Not everyone's dead, by the way, so that doesn't make any sense to me. And it just really gets murky after that, how he is allowed to die, but that's what B wants. He really wants to die. He's the guy who, like, lured in Annette and stole her away. He loses a hand at some point, I think because a door slammed on it. But that's not how people lose hands. So I was a little confused. Anyway, Annette is passed out. Eventually, again, the mummy carries her to her death, except that the mummy doesn't kill her when B tells him to. And it just gets so wild in the last 10 minutes. So instead of killing her, the mummy takes her medallion of life or whatever it is, and then B tries to kill her, but the mummy drowns him. And then the mummy looks back at her and was like, well, bye. Like, he doesn't say anything, of course. But it was very much like well, I'm just going to go on my way now, and I'm going to look back once, but that's it. That's all you get. And then he engineers his own death by bringing down unstable architecture for him to be buried under. And I guess he's dead now. Like... There's so many questions I had. But yeah, something I thought I understood that I'd probably have to go back. But I think B was doomed to forever to just like wander and be alive. And he can't die except by his brother's hand. So when this happened, I'm just like, dude, why'd you even bring this girl into it? Why not just bring your brother back, have him kill you, boom, you're dead. I don't know. It just seemed very convoluted. And it's like, where is this going? I gave it 2 out of 5 pyramids because it's so tiring. Oh my God. Like, it's so tiresome. Just, can we get to the point? It's a very old movie, so I'm not really surprised. I was going to do the 2017 Mummy movie, but I just decided that once was enough and that I didn't want to spend my time that way. So... But the things I will say about that movie that I remember, I thought it was amazing that they had an evil woman as the mummy. I think that was great, right? I did not like all the script rewrites that Tom Cruise supposedly did to turn it into much more of an action movie for him to shine or whatever. Also, they said that, I can't remember, at the end, he, like, turns into this god or whatever, except it's the wrong god for that. Oh, I think it was that they were like, oh, he's Set or whatever. Maybe they made up a new name. But it's like, no, the god of the underworld is Anubis. Get your shit straight. Like, Google it. It's on there. So I just had trouble with it. It was overdone and overblown, and it didn't focus enough on the most interesting character, which was the mummy herself. But I do love that they brought in a woman mummy. It just, yeah, it was like 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. So that's what I thought of it. I wouldn't, because I will not watch it again, I'd give it a 0.5 out of 5 pyramids. Because these movies are more silly. They lean into it a little bit. And The Mummy 2017 took itself way too seriously. What's great about The Mummy 1999... And even like the 32? It might be. But it's sometime in the 30s that they brought out these Universal monsters. That's a great movie too. Do I love 1999 more? Of course I do, but that's what I grew up with and I still love it. I do think it's a really good movie though, the one that they produced back then. And then every movie after that, seemingly besides 1999, was just bad in some way. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was mostly just me. Like, I've been having a really rough winter. I just wanted to have a little fun and, not do anything too serious because it is my birthday month and this does come out on my birthday. So yeah, I wanted to do something kind of fun and silly, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you guys later. Hope no mummies end up putting themselves in your day or their wrappings. God, that was so stupid. I hope you have a mummy-free day. See you next time. I think we're going to be talking about dibukim, which is the plural form of Dybbuk. So talk to you later.